Well, good morning everybody. Welcome back. Jiujitsu2000 here today. I'm back. I have an interesting video for you today. Right now I'm driving. I am south of Winslow, Arizona, about 23 miles. I own 12.5 acres of land out here, and I'm heading out to check on my land, and I'm also gonna film my October overnighter out there on my land while I'm out here checking on it. As you can see, there is inclement weather. We've got a lot of rain. There's some snow on the ground. So the temperatures tonight are showing to be fairly cold. I would say probably in the low 30s. It's going to be a good trip. It's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you enjoy this video. This land that I own is very special land, very dear to my heart. There's some scattered juniper and cedar type trees out there. I'm always seeing signs of elk and antelope and deer, coyotes. I don't know if anything's going to come in while I'm out here tonight. The land not only has the cedars and the junipers, but it also has a lot of bedrock. There's a lot of natural water collection, and I'll show you in this video. I hope you enjoy. It's going to be a lot of fun. Stay with me. This is a cool place. Beautiful. If you listen very quietly, you can hear the water flowing. You can also see, like right here, you can see the water flowing down, and you can also see the little natural pools that occur where there's a lot of water collection options. Pretty cool. So there's plenty of water here. This is right here. You got this water here. You got stuff all over the place. Now, in my hand, you can see I have a tripod, and I also have an umbrella. The umbrella is just real simple. It's here to help put over the tripod so my cameras don't get wet. I don't want to put them in their waterproof housings because then I lose audio. So I want to keep audio. But my very first order of business is to find out, where am I going to call home tonight? Where am I going to set up my shelter? What kind of shelter am I going to make out here in this really desolate area? There's a lot of things to think about. Looking straight in front of me, you know, I'm using this as a pointer. You can see that there's some standing water here. I also have some rocks over here on my land. So I think I might try to utilize these rocks, possibly. There's some coyote scat right there. So this is a cool area, and I'm kind of looking right here possibly as maybe making this area a bed and then bringing my tarp off of that or something and anchoring it to the ground. I'm not sure. I just want to be somewhere where I'm not in the water, of course. So I'm just looking around. This bag that you see bouncing in front of me, that's just camera gear. So everything that I have that I'm going to use is in this bag. I'm not going to lie, it's a little bit chilly right now. Temperatures are kind of cold. There's a little bit of wind coming in, so I'm feeling that. But let's just take a look and see if we can find some natural cover. Maybe in between these rocks or something. There's some water collection there. This is such a unique area. Look at this around here, all these little pools of water. So I'm not going to be hurting for water. Whether it's water for cooking, water for drinking. This is all rain collection water. You know, and honestly folks, this is one of the reasons I bought this land. I like the natural landscape. I like how it's on a canyon. My land goes down the bottom of this little canyon all the way up to the other side. I have basically two different sections of land out here. The one that I'm standing on right now is 2.5 acres. And then right off in the distance, I don't know if you can see it or not, the tip of my thing, I have another 10 acres that's together over there. That area has a lot of junipers and cedars, but this area is more rock and bedrock and stuff like that. So there's not a lot of debris that I can use here for insulation to get me off of the ground. So what I brought is I brought some blankets, just old crappy blankets that I can set down, that I can use as a barrier to keep me off of the ground. It's raining still. You can see here that there's, like I mentioned, plenty of water collection. We're going to go for a little hike here in a little bit once we get our shelter fixed up. Once I know where I'm staying the night. Let's go take a look down at this area and see. I'm just trying to decide what the best option is. You know, water collection is going to be beautiful out here. No problems there. And one thing that I want to look out for is there's a lot of prickly pear out here. So you got these guys. So you don't want to be camping on top of those. But I'm looking for a good wind block. I'm looking for a good place where there's not going to be water coming up on me. And a little bit of protection. What about right up the middle here? Between these rocks, possibly. That might be a good place for my shelter tonight. In fact, yeah, I think I'm going to call this home. Right here. This rock is just high enough where I can lay my tarp down there. And I can lay my tarp down there on this other side. Get up underneath here. I have cover on both sides from the wind. And I think that will be good. I think this is going to be shelter tonight. Some of you watching might be concerned about this standing water. That's very simple to take care of. All I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out my bandana. What I'll do is I'll soak up that water into my bandana. My bandana can then get wrung out, and that's how I'll remove the water from the floor of my shelter. And now that we have cover overhead, we don't have to worry about no more water settling there anymore. So all the water's in there. I'm going to go wring it out, shake that thing, and it'll dry underneath this canopy here. So we're good to go. Well, I've got my makeshift shelter for tonight. Nothing fancy. I just basically took some rocks and I weighted them down here, weighted the tarp down. I put a little slope so the water will roll off. There's not much holding that corner, but it's just enough for tonight. If it starts to get windy or something like that, of course, my plan can change. So here we are looking at it from the north. It's very simple. I don't need much. All I need is something to get out from underneath the water, to get out of the rain, and something to put my head down. I'm also going to have the option to put a small fire under here, and this is going to be perfect for me tonight. This is a survival type candle that I've made, and I'll be using that underneath this to help with warmth as well. If temperatures drop, I can of course bring these down and maybe even bring the plastic completely off of that rock and just bring it right down here to the ground. That'll make this shelter real low. It'll make it real small. It'll make it real tight. And as a result of all of that, the heat will stay in. I just laid rocks down. Nothing too crazy. The plastic kind of just rolls down. I was going to try to tie it up on the top up here, but that didn't work out too well. So I decided to put rocks down here to kind of keep the water rolling down. There's kind of a low spot in the middle, and then another high spot, so the water will actually, and then it gets high again right here. So the water, I won't have any threat of water coming into my bedding is what I'm saying. So the water can roll down, it can roll down into the middle and kind of out of my way. The fact that that side over there is kind of buttoned down, that's going to keep wind from coming into my shelter from the north. And then also right here is a small opening for me to get into my shelter from the south. And let's take a look here. There's plenty of room So you can see what I was talking about. There's that little bit of a higher spot, and then it kind of lowers, and then it gets high again. So my bed is going to lay right here where my pack is. So this is going to be where I'm going to sleep right here tonight. It's going to be very comfortable. The cool thing about a shelter like this is I can have a small fire, maybe even that survival candle that I have in my pack. That candle, when I don't have a lot of airflow coming in and out, that candle, you would be surprised at how much a simple single flame of a candle will keep your area a lot warmer. And it'll heat up this rock a little bit. If I have any kind of cooking fire or anything going on, it'll heat this rock up, and that heat will radiate back into me during the night. Well, now it's time to make my bed. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out some of these blankets, and I brought a separate pack for these blankets. What I'm going to do, these blankets are just real cheap, inexpensive blankets that I bought at Goodwill for pennies on the dollar. They're stained, they're dirty, and what I do is I bring them out, I lay them on the ground, in the dirt, in the sand, in the mud sometimes, and they are they're easy to replace is what I'm saying. In fact, this one right here, this white one, this is an old tablecloth. It's had oil spilled on it. It's clean. I wash them when I get home, but this is what I'm going to lay down as a kind of a barrier to keep things somewhat clean. Okay, I've also moved all my gear over here behind me. It's kind of made like this little bit of a wall. That wall is important for keeping the wind and stuff out of here from that side. Of course, the tarp does that for me as well. So here's like my first little layer. This just lays directly on the ground. Again, these blankets are real cheap, stained, and that's exactly what I got them for, was this purpose of breaking conduction. So I don't care if they get dirty or what, because when I get home from a trip, they get washed, and then they go right back in the car or right back in that pack, and that's all I use them for. Here's another one. So go to your Goodwill and just buy cheap, very cheap blankets. If you have too much on this end right here, just fold it back towards yourself, and you'll make, for the lack of a better description, you'll make a little bit of a pillow. So that's the start to my bed. Again, as always, I want to kind of lay on it, and I want to test it for comfort and see how it feels. Again, I'm thinking about my feet, and I want to make sure that my feet are lower than my head, and I'm going to give it a quick comfort test. Oh yeah, it feels good so far. It feels comfortable. Yeah, this is going to work out just fine. And when I put my candle underneath, hopefully you can see this. When I put my candle underneath here, that heat is just going to radiate out. And that heat's going to be close to me. And that heat's, believe it or not, that heat is significant once you're buttoned down for the night. Yeah, this is very comfortable. I don't feel any wind coming in from any direction behind my head. I don't feel nothing over here to my right. I don't feel nothing. And obviously to my left, I don't feel anything. My feet, that's where my door is. So my feet is the only area where there could be some sort of temperatures, or cold coming in. Right. Got my phone mounted over here so I can text Miss Bella. There's good cell coverage out here. You can hear the rain coming down. This shelter is working good. It's actually very warm in here. This is a nice little microclimate to be in. So I'm happy. It's very comfortable. You can hear the rain coming down. You can see the rain gathering right here on the tarp. And that's all I need. That is all I need to stay comfortable out here. Of course, my clothing is part of my shelter, so you got to keep that in mind. Clothing is also shelter, so don't forget that. This shelter and this setup that I have right now has a lot of physics working to help keep me warm. The first one I want to talk about is this wall to the left of me, as well as this candle. When it gets cold, I'm going to light this candle. This candle is going to get stuck underneath here, okay? The candle's going to generate heat, and the heat's going to come just as heat does, and it's going to come out of that rock, and it's going to warm up that rock during the night. I also have my body heat, and as my body releases body heat, my body heat is going to come over this way. It's going to bounce off of this rock, and my body heat's going to come right back to me. Okay, the same thing is going on over here. My pack is in the way. That's a wall. So when my body generates heat, that heat will bounce off that wall, my pack and my gear that's next to me, and that wall is going to send that heat right back to me through radiation. Okay, so left and right is covered with a lot of physics. Now let's talk about up, and then we'll talk about down. Up above me, between 6 and 8 inches above my head, I have a layer of plastic, and it's good that that plastic is low, because what happens here is as my body generates heat and that heat dissipates away from my body, and it thinks that the heat's going to go off into the atmosphere, but what happens? It hits this plastic, and that heat bounces back down, and it radiates back down into my body. Okay, the same thing happens below me. I have these blankets and things that I lay on, and later tonight I'm going to get my bedroll out and my bivvy out, and I'm going to have a lot of heat. So as heat tries to go down, it's going to hit this conduction barrier, and it's going to bounce that heat right back out. So the heat from all 4 directions, up, down, left, and right, is going to be bouncing out and bouncing right back towards me, so I'm going to be staying nice and warm tonight. The only thing that I might need to do as temperatures drop towards the night is I might need to put a rock right here to lower or make the doorway a little bit smaller so that I don't have any heat getting out through that doorway via convection or wind. So you'd be amazed at how comfortable I am right now. And I don't even have a candle burning. It's warm right now. Wow, the sound of rain is such a soothing sound. So cool. I'm loving it. The shelter got put up in just the right time. No problem. There's no place I'd rather be. I'm really happy right now. I love getting out and doing these overnighters. They're a blast. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go button down this side a little tighter. And I'm also going to make a channel so that water will roll downhill. And by buttoning this side down, it's going to keep the heat in. It's not going to allow heat to escape. You can see that I have the far side buttoned down now. And I left the plastic kind of high on the side of the rocks there, so that as the water comes down, it'll kind of pull into this area and eventually flow down into here. I've also buttoned this area down so that the only spot that wind can come in is my doorway right here, which is very small, and that will keep this area inside a very nice warm microclimate where I can stay nice and warm during the night. I'm going to go take a little walk and see what kind of water collection there is out here and just kill some time. It's only noon right now. Got a little pool right there. So any water that I need to cook with, or to drink or filter and drink, make tea or anything like that, there's plenty of it out here. That's one of the reasons I really liked this land, and that was honestly one of the reasons that helped me make that purchase on this land. I like all this bedrock. My land goes all the way down to the bottom of this little canyon and halfway up the other side, so this canyon is actually mine too. A lot of water collection options out here. Pretty cool. Another thing that I want to make note of, not just these little water places, but right here, I have water trickling down right into the bottom of this area. I have a couple thousand gallons of water down there easily. game comes in, and they come in and water off of this. So there's always signs and tracks and things like that of animals coming into this area, and it's right on my land. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool little chunk of land out here. I put a game cam out here one time, and I left it for a couple of months, a game camera. When I came back and I saw antelope, I saw deer, I saw elk, I saw coyotes, and I even saw a mountain lion. I'm wanting to say there was a bobcat too, but I'm not sure about that. And of course you had birds and all those types of things. Look at this, it's actually flowing. So my property continues up the other side, and it goes up a little ways. So water is not going to be an issue out here, thank goodness. You know, we have rain, and it's so beautiful out here. I love this area. I love this land. And I'm standing on my own land. Such a good feeling. I just absolutely love the sound of water flowing. So cool. When the water comes down from the rocks, comes down, makes a little sound, and then of course it collects right down in this area. So there's plenty of water right here. There's some firewood if needed. Plenty of water down here that can be filtered and drank. It's right here on my land. So there's a lot of blessings out here. Many, many, many blessings. It's such a beautiful area. If you could see it, you know, and my shelter is warm inside. It's cold outside right now, but when I was in the shelter, I wasn't cold at all. So it's already proving that it's very effective, that shelter. It's pretty cool. I'm just going on a little hike, checking out my land and seeing what it looks like out here. You know, a lot of this wood right here is dead and old, and this could be used as firewood. Anything that I see that's down and dead is going to be picked up and burnt. And that's pretty cool. It's a good feeling. Some water. I hear what sounds like a bit of a waterfall. And it's always been here. Look at that. It's almost like Slide Rock. So there's a big pool right there of water. And then off in the distance, you can see even more. So this is all right here. There's some willows here. A little bit of prickly pear there. I love it. You know, in the summertime, these pools, they still have a little bit of water in them. Some of them dry up, and some of them still have water. I don't know if you remember seeing my video where I did the Sawyer S series water filter, and I did several Sawyer videos. You'll see this background, and this was very close to my land. That's such a relaxing sound. A lot of pool of water there. Got some grass. And then the water comes down to another fall. Down into another collection. And then it continues to go. And off in the distance, about 3/4 of a mile down this canyon, it intersects with the larger canyon, and that canyon is deep. It's probably 200 feet deep, and it's cliff walls, and it's a beautiful, beautiful canyon. I might hike over to that since it's so early in the day. I might hike over there and take a look and show you. Look at all that water. Water is life. Thought I would stop and take a break for a second. Off here to my left, out this direction, I heard some coyotes calling just now. So that's pretty cool. A lot of life out here. They're probably alerting each other to my presence out here. Take a look at this little guy right down here. Three little barrel cactuses. Hiding under some cover. Ain't that cool? The simple things, right? The small things. This hike is so much fun out here. The rain let up, so it's not as bad. I'm just really enjoying this hike. It's fun. And there's water collection everywhere. I mean, everywhere out here. Of course, we're in the monsoon, so we're catching water everywhere. Okay, this canyon behind me is the canyon that comes from my land. This canyon comes in and intersects with the much larger canyon. All the water that comes from my canyon comes down in and delivers into this canyon. You can see how deep this canyon is. It goes way down there. You can hear the water just feeding it. Now to get across, of course, it's be very difficult. It's a cliff. Obviously, it's a pretty big canyon. So there would be a lot of maybe rappelling involved to get across the other side, but this is such a beautiful place. Hopefully you can see down there in the bottom. Got a little bit of water flowing and stuff. It's just a beautiful place. Beautiful area. I love hiking out here and coming out here. It's amazing. Such a neat place and full of life. The canyon is beautiful. And even in the summertime, there's a little bit of water down there. Obviously not as much as there is right now due to the rain, but it's still nice. On the hike back, and I find this. It looks like some sort of spine, maybe some hip. And to be honest, I'm not sure what it is. But it's definitely, something's been eating on it. Might be a coyote or something, I don't know. I have no clue. Bird flying, I don't know if you can see it, but that's a duck. So he was right down here and I spooked him and he took off and he made a circle. He's way off there in the distance. I don't even know if the camera's picking it up. But he went off this way, just a single duck. Turned around and came back and then he flew south. And it looks like he's circling back again. So I'm just waiting to see what he's got going on. Does he have any friends over here? He's right there. I can't see him on the viewfinder. This viewfinder is real small. See if he comes back. He's just going this way. Looks like he's coming back to take another look. Pretty cool. A single duck. Went by and he looked and he's like, oh, nope, he's still there. So he's done. But he was bedded down right here in this pool. Coming into this area on the way back is a very interesting area. I really like this place. This area looks a lot different right now because of all the water, but this is a place where I've shot a couple videos, and this location is one of my favorite locations out here. These willow trees, this pool of water is generally here. The waterfall is usually gone, but I filmed a couple of videos out here, and I filmed them this summer. The area looks much different now, obviously, because of all the water. But there's two videos that I'll link to in the description box down below if you want to see what it looked like. They're excellent videos if you want to see what this area looked like in the summer. It's the MSR Group cooking system video where I made beef stew, and it's also the Sawyer Select, the S1 series water filter video. I shot both of those videos at this location, and it looked much different than it does right now. But this is, without a doubt, one of my favorite places to come out here. I like it a lot. It's so pretty right now with all this water. But yeah, right there, that's where I was cooking beef stew. Crazy, and I was filtering this water. Of all the wet wood out here, I find this little section right here that looks like it could be somewhat dry. I don't have my knife with me currently. It's back at camp, but I'm gonna gather just a tiny bit of this and take it back, and hopefully that'll help me get my fire going. And I noticed that there's some food in here. So they're kind of hard to notice, but there's pollywogs swimming around. There's not many of them, but there's some pollywogs in there. You might have to... There's one just kind of scooting along. He's not going too fast, but in the event that you needed to get some kind of calories in your body, you could definitely get into these pollywogs and stay alive. That's protein. I mean, it'd take a little bit of work to get them, but it would definitely be something that you could consume if you had to. And it's right here in this little pool of water. Nothing too crazy. Everything looks good. Looks like it's working as intended. Everything, the water's pooling exactly as I thought. It'll come down and it'll eventually pull away from the shelter. Now I've added another thing here. I've added my poncho to the mix as a door. So what this is going to be doing is when I go to button down for the night, and you can see I have a small rock here, I'll just crawl through that space to get into my shelter, and then I'll tuck this down, set that rock there. And what that'll do is that'll keep the wind from coming into my shelter from this area, and it'll have the potential to keep the most amount of heat in that microclimate that I have there. So I should be plenty warm tonight and plenty dry. So looking at what appears to be a raccoon type shelter, maybe some kind of animal. And I'm noticing that there's some dry wood right here. So before I get too crazy reaching in, I just want to make sure that there's nothing that's alive in there. And I'm just going to reach in and get a couple of these little dry pieces in hopes that they'll work for me to get my fire started. Because all I need is some stuff to get started. And this should be enough to get me some fire, to get my water heated up, to get my food cooked. Well, I'm coming back into my shelter for a little bit. I got to get into my bag to get my fire making stuff. I have a knife and a ferro rod, and in my pocket I have a couple napkins, a plastic bag, and a tampon. So I was able to gather what I think is some fairly dry stuff that I think will work for me to be able to get a fire going. And I'm kind of looking at this area right here, and I'm starting to think that I might be able to do something here, but what I think is that's probably a bad idea, because I'm not going to have a place for the smoke to escape. So since the storm has lifted and things are pretty clear right now, I'm going to make the fire outside of the shelter. I want to heat up some water so that I can make some ramen noodles and drink my apple juice and stuff like that, and I'm a little bit hungry. You can see the door of the shelter behind me is very small. It's like a flap, and that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted to have a shelter that I can really button down tight and keep the airspace to a minimum inside of here. And I think I've done a good job at that. So let me go ahead and come on in. You can see how tight things are back there behind me. And the cool thing about that, once again, is I can close that flap at night and we will be really secure in here. This is all camera gear. There's my apple juice in my pan, and I need to get my knife out of here. Right in here. So my knife has a ferro rod with it. There's a lighter in here too, but I'm not going to use that. I also have a fork and a spoon here. Now for this trip, I brought 2 forms of light. One of them is the S2 baton. This runs on a single 18650 battery. This is a good light. The other one is the H1 Nova headlamp. This is also an O light, and this runs on a single 123 lithium ion battery. And I like these, so any light that you're going to see in this video is going to be from one of these two. This one, the S2 baton, has, like I said, it's got that moonlight mode that lasts a long time. It lasts like 60 days or something on this one. Now, what I really like about the H1 Nova headlamp is the moonlight mode on this doesn't last as long, but it's much brighter. It's a 2 lumen moonlight mode. So even on the lowest setting, which you still get a remarkable runtime on that, but you get a light that's bright enough to function in a lot of aspects. So in fact, I use that setting for a lot of things. So those are the 2 lights that you're going to probably see in this video. Now the knife that I'm going to be using is just a charade. It's a very simple charade. SCHF 56. This is a full tang knife, 1095 high carbon steel. It also has a ferro rod that's included. It's a very thin ferro rod. I don't think it's even 3/16. It's like 1/8 of an inch or something. It's pretty thin, but it's what I brought for this trip. And hopefully, if things are dry enough, I'll be able to get some fire tonight. So I brought a 32 ounce Nalgene GI type bottle, which also has a nesting cup that I can use to cook. There's a lid underneath that as well, and so that's going to be my cooking option to heat up my water for my food. Now there's a bag over here. This is my food bag, and I brought 2 things of beef ramen. I brought a couple granola bars. I brought some salmon in a package. You can eat that anytime you want. There's also I think that's about it. I think there's some raisins in there. Very simple stuff. I'm not going to eat real heavy out here, but little things that I can heat up, you know, and then bring into my shelter and eat in here, and other things that I can just eat right out of the bag. Now, I think I might have made a little bit of a mistake in not bringing a small stove. You know, I could have brought a Pocket Rocket 2 and been cooking right here in my shelter, and that probably would have been a good option, but I didn't do that. I wanted to conserve weight, so I chose to bring a knife and a ferro rod instead, to lighten up my pack instead of bringing a big old stove, because I was going to bring a knife and ferro rod anyway. I just didn't want to bring added weight and bring a stove. So that was my choice, and so now I got to get a fire made with some wet wood. Okay, let's give this fire a try. I've got in my pocket, I've got a few things. I've got a tampon. This is for the cotton. It's covered in plastic, so I'm going to break the plastic, and what the hope is that if I can get the cotton to take, then I could throw the plastic on it and get that plastic to kind of burn almost like an accelerant. And then I also have a couple napkins, like from fast food joints, McDonald's or something like that. Those are also in my pocket, and I'm hoping that I can put that on top of this. I keep a handful of these cotton things, these tampons, in my bag, So I just had one in my pocket. So let's go ahead and get that ready. You can also see that I have some of these little shrubs and stuff that are ready. They're wet, but they're also very ready to be put on right away in hopes that they'll take. So let's give this a shot. I can't promise anything. I can only hope that this is going to work. I also have some cedar and juniper bark here. Okay, that went quick. Let's put this stuff on there. Let me get that cotton out of my pocket. Get some of this stuff on. Maybe it'll get that drying and get that going. Some of these napkins from the fast food joint. Some of this stuff. Maybe I'm hoping that we can get this going. I also have this plastic bag. The hope is that the plastic bag will kind of burn and melt and create like a fuel that will carry this flame. If I can get this plastic going, it might help. Looks like I have a little bit of ignition of something down there. I think that's the cotton ball that's barely burning. Some of this bark looks like it's dry on the inner parts. Looks like I got my fire going. Now the camera's shut off, the battery is dying. But what I said just a second ago is the process of getting a fire going is not so much about getting the fire going, but it's more about getting things that you can get dry that will burn. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm pieces off, just tiny little pieces, in hopes that they'll be thin enough that they'll get dry quickly and start to burn. So that's the process that I'm looking at. And of course, when you start getting flames and stuff, you can start putting a little thicker stuff on, but the thinner you can do in the very beginning, the quicker they'll dry and the quicker they'll turn into fuel. Well, let's get some water so I can make my noodles. I'm just going to set this right on the fire and get that water boiling. Nice rolling boil there. Pretty cool. Very simple meal, just some ramen noodles. I'm not getting into anything too heavy. Lay those babies down in there for the excess, and then we have more plastic to help the fire. Put my flavor packet in there, and then let it get those going. This meal is very simple. Cool thing about these ramen noodles is they last a long time. Won't take long, and that'll be done. Ready for me to eat. So those are done. I came in here because I wanted to get out of the rain. It was starting to get wet. I did button down this corner. I put the rocks on the inside, so this doorway is shut. There's not going to be any wind coming in from that direction. I've got my food in here. Got my candle lit. And it's actually pretty cozy in here. I'm getting ready to take my shoes off and eat my supper and just relax and maybe read a book or something like that. I brought a book. My socks are wet from that hike that I did earlier. So I'm going to hang them on this rock next to me in hopes that they'll kind of air dry a little bit. I'm also going to leave my boots down here. It's a little bit cold outside, but it feels good in here. So there's my boots sitting right there on top of the tarp, and my socks are hanging right there on the rock so that they can dry. And now I get to enjoy my supper. In my bottle here, I have apple juice. It's very good apple juice. Very, very simple. Just concentrate apple juice. Nothing crazy. I'm going to drink some apple juice and I'm going to eat my ramen. That's delicious. Let's try that ramen. See what it tastes like. Apple juice is good. Got my bandana here to kind of clean my fork or whatever. I also can use my bandana to set down on top of my bedding so that I can set this down and the black of the bottom won't blacken my blankets. But I honestly don't think I'm going to need to do that. I'll just set the lid there. Let's give these guys a try. Ooh, all that steam from the heat of this food is also going to be pretty cool, because the steam from the heat of the food, what does that mean? That means not only is my candle heating my shelter, but my food, the steam, is also serving as a heating source for my shelter. I don't know if you can see me with all that steam from the heat. Oh, there's, you know, one of the best things you can do when you're in a cold environment to keep yourself warm at night is to eat. Because when your body is processing food, it's working, and that work creates heat. That's delicious. Who would have ever thought that something as simple as ramen noodles would taste so good? In nature, fire is like nature's television. It's crazy. I've got my headlamp on, and I don't know if you can notice, but I have the candle directly under my bandana because my bandana was moist. So I'm letting the heat come up from the candle. It's a very soft heat, but it's drying my bandana and also my socks right over there. I wish I had a thermometer where I could measure the temperature in here, because it's very comfortable. You can see that I have a second candle here, and you can see that the second candle, the light is much lower. The light, or the flame, is much smaller because the wick is shorter. So what's good about that is it doesn't burn as much wax during the night, but the downside is it doesn't put out as much heat. But if you got a candle and you want it to last a long time, then what you can do is you can alternate by turning this one off and turning this one on. And what you'll do is you'll let this candle solidify, and then if you're using cotton yarn like I do for a wick, then what you can do once that's solidified is you can break that wick off and then relight it and then put this one out. So you can alternate your candles. The reason that I suggest starting the second one before you blow out the first one, obviously, is so you still keep some kind of heat coming into your shelter. We'll continue to dry our cloth here and our socks and everything. And in the meantime, I'm waiting for this to solidify so I can break that off, and then we can kind of alternate back and forth. If you don't mind a long flame and your wax burning a lot faster, then don't worry about it. Right now you can see a perfect example of what I'm talking about. You see, I was able to break off that little piece that I set there. I'll throw that away, and then you can relight, and you'll notice that the flame is going to be small, just like the other one. I've got my hydro flask hanging, so I've got a gravity drip filter system set up, and I'm just going to let that go a little bit, and in the meantime I'm going to read a book or something. It's going to take time. Obviously you can see it's very slow. It's one drip at a time, but that's all we have out here is time. You know, I'm going to read a book, and I'll check this thing every few minutes and see where we're at, and when it's done I'll have more water. I'll use this cap to put on there, and we will be good to go, and I'll have plenty of water to drink. If you look out and you see the light that you can see in my shelter, this is the H1 Nova headlamp, 500 lumens. It's a good light. It puts out plenty of light. And now let's put this to moonlight mode. Okay, so let's get this thing on moonlight mode. There's moonlight mode, so it's very dim. But let's take a look at the S2 baton. So there's the S2 baton. You can see that the light is a lot shallower, or should I say it's got a tighter pattern. The Nova really spreads the light out, and this one seems to hold it tighter. So that was just something I thought I'd share with you guys. Both of these lights, the S2 baton and the Nova, they are the non-rechargeable or tail cap. They have just the standard tail caps on them. And I like that because I can recharge my 18650s anyway, and I can recharge my RCR 123s anyway. So I don't have a problem taking the tail cap off to change out my batteries. No problem at all. Eating some raisins right now. And off in the distance, I heard some coyotes calling. Oh, the joys of waiting for water to filter. Speaking of water and the sound of water, I gotta go pee. I just ate all that ramen and drank all that apple juice. It's time for me to get my bedroll out and get ready for, to start getting in a mode to call it a night. I always keep my bedroll in the very bottom portion of my pack down here. It's a good place for it. This bedroll is a 0 degree bag. It's an Everest Elite, and I need to kind of fluff it up and get some loft going here. This is going to make me stay nice and warm tonight. This is a very good bedroll. I've had it many years, and it's always done me a good job. Hey, what? I have an MSR wind burner here that was in the bottom portion of my pack where my bedroll was. I didn't know that was in there. Do I have any propane for it? Any gas with it? I sure do. Wow, this is a good find. I'm very excited about this. This is going to change things in the morning significantly when it comes to making my oatmeal. I won't have to leave the shelter to make oatmeal. I'll be able to do it right here in the shelter. I won't have to get out, make a fire, find all this wet wood and stuff. I'm so happy about this right now. That's crazy. I'm just blown away. That's pretty cool. That's a very positive thing for me right now. I've already got my socks and shoes off, and I'm gonna just kind of get this bedroll in position. I don't worry too much when I'm out here doing stuff like this about getting dirt inside of my bedroll. I mean, I try not to, but if I get a little bit of dirt or debris or something in there, it's not that big a deal, because tomorrow when I go to break camp, I'm going to be able to get all that dirt and debris out of my bedroll. I always do that before I put it away. I always shake it and stuff, and anything that's inside the bedroll falls out. So, got my feet down in there. Things are comfortable. Yeah, life is good. I got my wind burner. It's about time to go to bed. I'm very comfortable. Got my candle going. I'm still filtering some water. And my shelter's good, even though you can see my breath and I'm still comfortable. My feet aren't even cold at all. My feet are comfortable. My body's core temperature's comfortable. I've got a sweater. I've got an extra coat. I've got a couple more blankets still. So I don't think I'm gonna need that. If I do, I have it And also, if I need any kind of emergency, protection, I do have an emergency bivy in my bag. It's basically kind of like a Mylar blanket that you put around your bedroll. It breaks pretty much all convection and keeps all the radiation back inside of you, so you don't lose any body's core temperature. I'm noticing a little bit of condensation on the plastic on the inside. That's a good sign that I'm staying warmer in here. And yeah, that's about it. I'm very comfortable. I just wish that Miss Bella and the girls could have been here. I love coming out. This is what life's about. I'm loving the Olight H1 Nova headlamp. That firefly mode of 2 lumens is awesome. It's perfect amount of light for just walking around. And then if you got to go up to turbo, you can bump it up to 500 lumens and you can see quite a few things. So today's just been a great day. I've been looking around at all the water collection, and it's just been cool. I love being out here on my land. It's kind of nice to be able to say that. This is my land that I'm laying on right now. I worked hard, to buy this land, and it's definitely nice to be out here on it. So with that being said, I'm going to go to bed now, and I will see you guys in the morning. Good night. I love you all. See you tomorrow. Good morning. I slept good last night with my candles still going. This is my second candle. The first one went out. It ran out about 4:30 in the morning. I stayed very warm. I didn't get cold at all. I didn't have to get my other coat on or anything like that. So I had my shema, and at one point during the night, I actually used this little blanket as a second shema, like around my neck. Worked out pretty good. It was uncomfortable last night. Not temperature-wise, but laying flat, on a rock, on this bedrock. It was a little bit uncomfortable. Not bad, but it was just not the most comfortable thing. It's not like laying in my bed, of course. I've only got maybe an inch of comfort underneath me, those blankets. I didn't get cold at all. I was plenty warm. I noticed there was a lot of condensation on the inside of this plastic. It didn't rain last night, so that was cool. And my bedroll is like damp on the outside. Like not bad, but just a little bit damp. So yeah, my candle went out. The first one, of course, like I said, like 4:30 in the morning or something like that. So the shelter worked great. I feel fine. No problems. My feet never got cold. My feet were perfect. And I don't even have any socks or shoes on or nothing. So the bedroll worked out good. I'm really happy because I was able to find my MSR wind burner last night. It was in my pack when I went to get my bedroll out. I didn't know that it was in there. So that was pretty cool. I'll be able to use that to make my oatmeal this morning. That was pretty cool. So, I really got to pee. I stayed very hydrated yesterday. So I got to get up and go pee. And then I'll probably have some oatmeal. I mean, you can see all the condensation here on the inside. My feet stayed warm. That worked very effectively at keeping, you know, the wind and stuff out of the shelter. I filtered about half of my water. In fact, I got this Gatorade bottle here, and this is all filtered water. Oh, it's so nice to have a stove. Makes it very nice. This water boils very fast. I still have enough food for probably another day. That's one thing that I always do pretty good. I always bring a pretty fair amount of food. Sometimes I go through all of it and sometimes I don't. Cool thing about this wind burner is the bowl. This doubles as a bowl, and you can put boiling water in here. You can make tea and stuff like that. I'm going to have 2 bags of maple and brown sugar this morning. It's so nice to not have to make a fire. Gosh, it's nice. So hopefully, you know, next time I won't forget to bring my stove. This thing's already at a boil. So I've got some water filtration going on here, and I'm cooking my oatmeal. Man, life is good. I'm serious. There's no place I'd rather be. Out here, you know, coming out like this and being out like this is just, it's amazing. I love it. I really do. I took my tripod here behind me and I kind of propped up the plastic so I have a little bit more headroom here so I can actually sit up. And that's working out pretty good. Yeah, this stove does a great job. Let's see what that looks like. Boy, all the steam. Let's add a little bit more. And of course the rest of this water is now drinking water because it's been boiled. Whew. Put this lid on and let it cook a little bit. I really like this wind burner. When MSR came out with this stove, they really hit a home run. That's a good product. And the wind burner group is awesome too. Thing heats up quick and the wind does nothing to it. It doesn't hurt it at all. So I'm going to let that cool. I still have a little bit of apple juice left, about half. So that's going to be perfect. I'm going to enjoy my breakfast. Oh, man. Start my day. I'll get up and I'll break camp down. And then I'll go home and call it a day. It's been fun out here. I love the hiking and stuff out here. It's awesome. Life is good. I don't know if the camera's picking it up like I can see it, but that is a lot of condensation on the inside. Pretty crazy. So I just got done eating breakfast, and it's time to blow out this candle because I can feel the sun radiating on this plastic, and the heat is just coming in here like a sauna. It feels good. The heat is just, this shelter is really warm right now. That sun is just hitting the walls, and it's just bringing that heat in. I'm loving it. I never cleaned my canteen cup last night, so I just put a little bit of water in there. Not too much, maybe 2 tablespoons. And I'm just cleaning up this pot. Getting it nice and clean. I always like putting my gear away clean when I can, you know, for the most part. Sometimes I don't, but sometimes I wash everything when I get home. But if I have the ability to clean my gear while I'm out, I generally do that. So I'm just kind of cleaning this up. It doesn't take much water. You don't have to bring, you know, dish soap and all that when you have stainless steel. That's one of the good things about having these bandanas. They work good for a lot of things. So do the chamois. So that's pretty clean. This is definitely clean enough to cook another meal in. The main thing I'm looking for is getting all the stuff off the side. And it's not hard. It doesn't take much time. It's just, and it gives you something to do. I think when you're out like this, you know, having something to do to keep you busy, to pass by the time, I think that's important. Especially if you were in a survival type situation. You know, just keeping your mind busy and keeping things going. I think that would help a lot. I'm going to just pour this over here. So there it is. Looks a lot cleaner. Let me run my bandana through it. Cool thing about the bandanas and having all this standing water out here is I can clean my bandana that way too. You know, I could just go out there to a pocket of water, get my bandana wet, and clean that baby up. So there's a look at my canteen nesting cup. Nice and clean, ready for another day. Folks, I just topped off my water bottles. It's time to call this October overnighter a wrap. There's nothing like pure rainwater. This is just good water. I'm going to take this water home, run it through a Sawyer, and drink it. It's good water. So these overnighters have been awesome. My BeFree is starting to get tired though. Man, I want to say thank you for joining me on this trip. I hope you got some good useful information out of this video. Please feel free to leave your comments down below and let me know what you think. And until next time, we'll see you in November. Thanks for watching. I don't know what I got in store for November, but I'm sure it's going to be fun. And then December will follow. So I can't wait to see you there. I hope you guys support me on this. Please watch them. You know, they help me out. There's a lot of effort that goes into doing these videos. So, as always, thanks again. Have a beautiful day. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.